Hi everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today we have Mr. Kyle Cox and Ben and Zanita, and my name is Letitia. We are here. It's a privilege to have Mr. Cox here. We're gonna talk about BOREN Awards. It's due next year, early next year. I think it's February, right? February.
Yes, February for the scholarships and the end of January for the fellowships. Yes.
Yes. So we want to get everybody in tune and informed about what is going on. Yes, we know COVID-19 is going on, and we are all praying for the best. And whilst we are all getting ready for life to come back to a little bit normal, we want students to also know that these programs are out there for them to tap into. So EBI is privileged to have the Warrens as team, which include a team member from see this life a team member and also a student and an alumni and also someone that's about to go. So it's great to have everybody here, and I have Ben, my co-host, also here with us. So I will start by allowing Mr. Kyle to introduce himself, who he is, because I didn't want to give his background yet, so I want him to do it himself. So over to you, Mr. Kyle. Mhm.
Thank you so much, Leticia. It's definitely a pleasure to be with you here this afternoon to go over just some basic overview of the BOREN Awards, to share with your audience about this awesome opportunity to study abroad, to get some language learning experience, some cultural immersion experience in another country, another culture, but also to do this with a focus on public service. That's a big key component of who we are at BOREN. And I'll definitely go into all of that here in this short presentation that I have prepared. As was mentioned before, we do have the awesome privilege of having a BOREN winner here on the call with us. One of our very recent winners, Zantana, I believe is her name, is here on the call, and she's amazing. She's won both a scholarship and a fellowship, and she's here prepared to explain some of her experiences with studying abroad on the BOREN, as well as address different things about the application, since she's been through it twice and twice successfully now, which is really amazing. So I'm going to share my screen now, just a minute, and just get into this short presentation that we have, just to give you some ins and outs about the awards. Here we go. That's it. Start from the beginning. Great. If you can see this, so we at the BOREN Awards, as I mentioned before, we're focused on language, we're focused on culture, and we also have that key component on service, this idea of public service. I'll definitely get into that as the presentation goes on. We are funded by the Department of Defense. We operate under the auspices of the National Security Education Program. That's our sponsor. But we are administered by the Institute of International Education. IIE is a nonprofit organization passionate about study abroad, passionate about getting U.S. citizens overseas, and some programs to get U.S. Foreign scholars to the U.S. as well. One of our more popular programs at IIE, the Fulbright Awards. Gilman is another pretty popular IIE administered award, and they, like BOREN, just focus on this idea of the exchange of ideas across borders, this getting involved with other cultures, getting involved with seeing the world through someone else's eyes, and that's a huge part of what we do at BOREN as well. I myself have been working with the BOREN Awards for 4 years now. I did not win the award, unfortunately. I had no idea what the award was when I was a student. If I did, I would have definitely would have applied. But it's been a privilege to work for IIE for the past 9 years and work on BOREN for the past 4, just sharing opportunities like this and getting to talk to audiences like yours. So again, thank you so much for tuning in.
No problem. That's great.
Um, First, basic overview. I should probably mention who's eligible to apply. You must be a U.S. citizen in order to apply for the BOREN Awards. You must be matriculated at a U.S. institution. This is very important. You can't be in a gap year, or you can't do BOREN after you've graduated. You must be on the books, either as an undergrad student or working on a master's or higher degree. You must be currently on a program while you are overseas. Now you'll see here on this slide we have undergraduate scholarships and fellowships for grad students. So that's when I say scholarship or fellowship, that's what I mean. Scholarship, undergrad, fellowship, grad.
You sharing your screen,
I,
right? Or
I
something?
believe are you not seeing it?
No.
Oh, interesting.
No.
Give me just a second. Let me see if I can fix that. I'm just curious. Oh, there was an extra button that I needed to press.
Okay.
I missed it. Okay.
Okay.
Are
So,
you seeing now?
yay. It's
Excellent. Amazing. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
Right. So we have undergraduate scholarships, graduate fellowships. So depending on where you are in your academic study is the program that you'll be applying for, the award you'll be applying for. For eligibility requirements, you also must be passionate about learning a language while you are overseas. We have a preference for less common languages, less common destinations, but it is important to keep in mind that there's no such thing as a BOREN without going abroad and studying a language. You must be committed to gaining proficiency in some preferred language while you are abroad. And finally, our last eligibility requirement, you cannot be a citizen of the destination country. So say you wanted to go to Japan and study Japanese, that would be great. Definitely one of our eligible languages, one of our preferred destinations, but you could not be a Japanese citizen at the time you're abroad on the board. These are monetary awards. These are our monetary scholarships and fellowships up to $25,000 for overseas language study. And within that $25,000, we cover pretty much everything while you're on our awards. That's transportation to and from the country. That's cost of living, your living expenses, food and lodging while you're in the country, all of your coursework while you're studying. Insurance, you must have insurance while you're overseas. Your 25,000, that's the maximum award. The amount of money that you receive will cover can cover all of those different costs for your travel experience, your costs for your study abroad. um, we do have a strong preference, a strong emphasis on national security and public service. That is one of the central pillars of the BOREN Award. This focus on national security and addressing the needs of a global society. However, I must say when I say national security, I recognize that there's some set ideas that tend to pop into people's minds, ideas of working for the Department of Defense or working for diplomatic relations or doing something that's related to development. And those all definitely fall under the umbrella of national security for sure. But we don't want anyone to feel tied or or committed to any of those particular ideas of what's relevant to national security.
Yeah.
We allow the applicant to craft their own idea of national security interests based on their own personal interests, their own perspectives of the world, their professional ambitions. It's on the students to come up with their own idea of national security. And then finally, we have a commitment for all awardees. This is everyone who wins an award, that you must serve 12 months within the federal government in some national security focused position. That's 12 months of service to be completed after you've finished your study abroad and after you finish your academic studies here in the United States. And again, we want you to do something that's relevant to national security, but we have such a broad understanding of what's relevant to national security. I don't want to be too over the top, but the possibilities are somewhat endless. Like there's a lot of different ways to fulfill that service requirement, and we can talk about that as we go on in this interview as well. Preference is given to students who are thinking long-term service. So while we only ask for 12 months, if you're thinking government as a career, that is a great thing to indicate on your application. And honestly, BOREN is such a great foot in the door. If you're thinking government service as a career, BOREN is actually a phenomenal way
Yes.
to get started.
Yes.
As I mentioned before, eligibility requirements: you must be a U.S. citizen. You must want to study abroad and study a preferred language in a preferred region. Must be a student at the time you're going overseas. Cannot be a citizen of the destination country. Now, I mentioned that there's scholarships for undergrad and there's fellowships for grad students, but there's a different split as well in types of awards. There's self-designed and there's flagship language initiatives. Let me explain what those mean. Self-designed is literally just that. It is self-designed. You as the applicant are putting together all of the pieces of your study abroad, how long you'll be overseas, what kind of program you'll be going to. You'll work with your university to figure out housing. Will you rent an apartment? Will you stay in a dormitory at a university? Will you do a homestay with a family in the country? All of these details, what your language study is going to look like, it's on you in the self-designed program to figure out the ins and outs. Then there's the flagship language initiatives, and these are all programs that have been very much structured by us at BOREN and our sponsor, NSEP. We determine how long you'll be overseas, when the program starts, where you're going to go. It's very prescribed by us and very, very language focused. I mean, you are eating the language for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, there's not a whole lot of time for anything other than the language study once you're doing a flagship language initiative. And as I mentioned before, these are very structured by us. There's a summer domestic portion for all of them, where you'll go to a university here in the United States for a few weeks during the summer and get prep work in the language. You'll immediately go overseas for the fall to continue immersion in the language overseas for the months of the fall. There's the option to stay for the spring for all of the flagship language initiatives as well. It's not required, but it is encouraged that students take advantage of the additional months to stay in country and continue their language gains. There's 4 different flagship language initiatives: the African Flagship Language Initiative, or AFLI, the South Asian Flagship Language Initiative, or SAFLI, the Indonesian Flagship Language Initiative, IFLI, and the Turkish Flagship Language Initiative, TURFLI, which is actually not in Turkey. It's in Baku, Azerbaijan. For more information on these types of programs, on both the self-designed and the flagship language initiatives, definitely check out our website. You'll see at the bottom left, there's a link to a page on our website. There's actually a link on all of the pages in the slide, in the presentation, I believe. Check out that page and you'll get a bigger breakdown of which countries are preferred, which languages are preferred, and what goes into each of the flagship language initiatives. The actual deadlines for the application, when are your applications due to us? For anyone who's applying for the undergraduate award for the scholarship, your deadline is February 3rd, 2021. And for anyone who's applying as a grad student for the fellowship, your deadline is January 27th, 2021. That's for anyone who's proposing a study abroad that will begin after June 1st or before March 1st of 2022. Now, these are our deadlines, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to want your application in by that time through our online portal. It's all online. The whole thing's online. If you go to our website, there's a button both at the top of the page and at the bottom that says Apply Now. Click that. It'll take you directly to our application site. That said, those of you who are students and you're thinking about applying, definitely check to see if you have what we call a BOREN campus representative at your university. Many universities have a designated individual on campus who serves as their campus's connection to us at BOREN, and they are incredibly useful during the application. They're great for reviewing essays. They're great for helping figure out all of those details for a self-designed program. They are your first point of contact on campus for anything BOREN related. And sometimes they have a deadline for when things need to get to them that'll be earlier than ours. So definitely go to our website, figure out who your campus rep is if your university has one, and as soon as you are able, once you've committed to working on an application, make an appointment to speak with them, let them know that you're applying. They will be incredibly useful to help with your application. So that's it for me. That's my little spiel, and I'm happy to take questions or.
Thank you so much. So when you were giving the presentation, what I got out was the language, right? You have to have a passion for the language that you are studying. Do you have to be speaking it, or you can start here in the US, let's say, you are doing a semester and then you want to continue to take another semester overseas, okay, or you have to be a little bit fluent here or like a little bit advanced in the US before you decide to do your study abroad?
That's a phenomenal question. Thank you so much for asking. No, actually. For the vast majority of our languages, you can come in at beginner, elementary, novice, zero experience with the language whatsoever. That's totally fine. The exceptions are French and Spanish. French, we will ask that you be intermediate. Spanish will ask that you be advanced, and we'll test you prior to conveying the award. But for any other language that you might propose to do under the BOREN, you can come in at any level. What we want to see is your plan for gaining proficiency while you are abroad. So say you're coming in at beginner, show us how you're going to go from beginner to beginner intermediate or to intermediate while you're overseas. Same thing if you already have experience with the language. Say you're already at an intermediate level. Fantastic. Good for you. Show us how you're going to go from intermediate to advanced during this experience overseas. We're going to want to see a detailed plan, maybe in classroom study or whatever it's going to look like, but show us how you anticipate making those language gains and those language goals. It helps if you can also demonstrate long-term commitment to the language. So it's not necessarily explicitly required, but we don't want anyone to do what I did. I took 2 years of French in college, stopped speaking French after college, and now I speak no French. Shame on me. We want you to take it, right. It's terrible. I admit it. We want you to take this experience to go overseas, learn the language, and then come back with some dedication to maintaining those skills, keeping those tools sharp. So if you can squeeze that into the application, that's also beneficial.
That is cool. So now we know that language is not shouldn't be your here. I am we know that language shouldn't be the reason why you are not going to apply, because it's all about commitment and you knowing that, hey, I want to learn Chinese, I want to learn Kiswahili, I want to learn French. Well, French, you have to have some kind of little bit of intermediate skills when it comes to the French language. And also, you said, what other language? What did you say?
Spanish. Spanish, you need to be advanced.
So those two languages, definitely you have to, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the reason why you have to have some kind of French speaking skills and Spanish speaking skills is that these countries is that most people barely speak English over there, right? Is that why one of the reasons? Or
That's not exactly it.
the working language?
Here's the best way for me to explain it.
Okay.
We have what we call languages that are critical need.
Okay.
All of our languages and all of our countries are regions and languages that have been deemed by the government to be not as popular within the United States as the government would like. There's just not a workforce of US citizens who are familiar with these languages, with these regions. And so, what the DoD and our sponsors and our program are concerned is towards getting US citizens to go to less commonly visited locations and study languages that aren't quite as commonly taught. Now, when it comes to French and Spanish, here in the United States, those are pretty popular. Those are languages that we really can't name as being explicitly
True.
critically needed. And so we have a bit of a higher bar for
For
those
those
languages that aren't quite as
yeah.
prioritized.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, if you go to our website and you look at the list of countries that we're prioritizing, our preferred list of countries, Western Europe is nowhere on our list of countries.
Okay.
That's not because Western Europe isn't important to the United States. Like Italy, Germany, they're all very important to the United States.
Yeah.
But we've got enough Americans who study abroad in Italy. We've got
popular destinations. Yeah.
so they're not a need. So that's why they've never been on our list of preferred locations.
Okay. Thank you so much for clarification. So now my other question is that you said something about having the mindset of a career path of working as a foreign service or working for the State Department. And one of the things that we have students like, oh, you have to be studying political science, so those kind of feel like the liberal, I would say the liberal arts um field. It's like if you're doing science or doing art or something outside the whole political spectrum, it's like, oh, that's not my field. I don't think I'm going to be qualified for BOREN because I'm not doing those economics and stuff. So can you really break down a little bit about that, the major or career path? What are some of the career paths that you think people can apply to BOREN and it will be a great fit for them?
I would be happy to. So as you alluded to, we do have this emphasis on government service. Everyone who wins an award must be committed to doing at least 12 months of service after they finish their academic studies. And there's so many different ways to fulfill that service. There's so many different ways to meet that national security service requirement that we're kind of open to students of all sorts of backgrounds. Now, of course, as you alluded, there are some fields of studies that are just a more natural path, right? Like there's, the international relations or political science or fields like that tend to be, pretty clear cut. But we will never discriminate based on field of study as long as the student, and again, it's on the student to make that connection between what they're interested in and government service. As long as they can make that tie between what they're interested in and national security specifically, we will never disqualify anyone based on field of study. The one group that we try to recruit to particularly with like a real focus is actually STEM. If you are STEM, I am telling you right now, there
You
are
are not paid.
government agencies looking for you. I just spent most of this week on an HBCU conference with several government agencies talking to HBCUs, and STEM came up in every session. Like if
Wow.
you are a STEM student, every agency is looking for you, and that's one I think people don't always recognize.
Yeah.
As easily connected to government service. So we encourage students to have an open mind and really be creative, think outside of the box. We have tools on our website for this. We have both a full list of like our preferred fields of study. The fields of study that tend to produce the most applications is really the better way to say it. That's up on our website, as well as, this is really important, lists to several job boards. If you go to our website, we have lists to dozens of agency job boards, and you can go to those agencies and see what does this agency do and what kind of person are they hiring.
Awesome.
And that can get you thinking like, where does someone with my background fit in on this list?
Oh, awesome. I think we're gonna really share this resource with our student, because I always say that for me, I always tell my student that, look, when it comes to government, every hands is needed. So just for that reason, whatever the field that you are in, you are needed for that. And when it comes to cultural diplomacy, there is no short of oh, I don't fit in the category, because as long as you have the passion for it, I would say go for it. Go for it. So thank you for giving that explanation. So yes, family or students, don't say because I'm not in the international relations, or even if you are in law, you are needed. If you are yes, if you are into the art and let's say fashion design, all those things, as long as you can show passion in that career field, definitely. Because look, they've been the first lady, people are addressing the first lady and the president. So everybody needs, there is a field there is a place for every one of us to serve in the government. So don't count yourself out. Look into this and apply. So then my other question now I have is that you said there is two programs, the fellowship and then the scholarship. So can you give a little bit about what distinguish the two? Because I know some people are like, oh, I see the fellowship is more money, or I see, people are going to look at a dollar sign and say, let me go and apply to the one that can get more money. So if you can help elaborate on the difference between those two.
Sure. I'm going to touch on this just a little bit, but
Okay.
as I mentioned before, we've got someone on the line who has
Okay.
won both awards. So I'm going to say just a couple of words, but then I think I'm going to kick this over to Zantana,
Yes.
who's won both awards, and let her talk about her experience going through the difference with the two, and then her experience going overseas on one of them already. So as I mentioned, yes, there's the scholarship, which is undergrad students. So you'll apply for that if you're still working on your associates or your bachelor's. And then there's the fellowship, which is for grad students. Now, technically, the funding level for both is 25K. That's the maximum you could receive for both. Now, I have to be very clear by what I mean with maximum. That's the most you can ask for. So you're not going to get more than what you've asked for. If you only ask us for 19K, then you're getting 19K. But with the fellows, there's actually the most you could then receive, I should say, would be 19K. With the fellows, there's actually the opportunity to receive up to 30,000 actually. And for them, fellows have the option to do domestic study here in the States and get some language prep before they go overseas. That's an option we do not give to fellows, to scholars rather, outside of the flagship language initiatives. So if someone applying for the fellowship wanted to propose doing intensive language study for a couple of weeks during the summer before they went abroad, they could receive additional funding for that domestic portion, but no one ever gets more than 30K, and only the fellows could get the maximum of 30,000.
Okay. So, Zenita, are you there? Okay, she's not. Okay, so now
I'll let her jump in whenever she's ready, whenever
okay,
she's available. Yeah.
so, okay, as we wait for her now,
I think
so, okay. Hi, can you give a little bit of background about yourself, and then yeah, we can hear you now.
Mm-hmm. Go right ahead.
Yeah, of course. Sorry about that. My mic was having an issue. Thank you guys for having me here. I'm happy to be here. My name is Zantana. A little bit of a background. Like Kyle said, I did receive the BOREN twice. I went in 2018 to Israel on the scholarship, and now I have received it for 2020, the fellowship, to Amman, Jordan, both times to study Arabic. I just graduated in May from undergrad. I studied, my major was in econ and a double minor in philosophy and political science. I've done a bit of other international relations stuff. I've done Wrangle and similar things. So yeah, any questions you guys have, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. So awesome. So now my question is that, how did you know about BOREN? Have you always knew about it? Have you, like, how did you even think about it? Did you always wanted to study abroad? All those things. How did you start your journey?
So as far as studying abroad, I think I considered it, but I wasn't like enormously set on it or anything up until maybe the end of my sophomore or junior year. BOREN, I think I just heard about through like my university study abroad website. They have like different scholarships we should consider, and I think they just mentioned it to me, and I ended up just going on the website, checking it out, and deciding to apply.
Okay. So I know Mr. Kyle said something from the beginning that your first place to start applying for is that go to your department, your education
Campus
department.
rep.
Sorry.
You're breaking up a
said
little bit.
go
I
to
can't hear you very well.
who, me?
Yeah, I was saying that the first place
No, I
was.
can.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I was asking Mr. Kyle and also you, Zanita, that you guys were saying that the first place, if a person decides to apply for BOREN, their first place they have to go is to go to their school, international education department or someplace, right, to find an advisor that deals with BOREN Awards to assist them. That's their first step before even applying, right?
That's what I recommend, definitely. I would definitely look to see if your university has a campus representative. Unfortunately, not every campus does. Some campuses just don't have the staffing. Some campuses just have yet to not learn about the BOREN. But if your campus has a campus rep, definitely seek them out. We actually have a drop down, a search menu on our website where you can find your campus rep. You can type in your university name, and if you have a campus rep, it'll show up there, and you can then reach out to the individual who's on our list.
So what if you don't have one on your campus?
Then your best point of contact might be me. You, and by me, I mean my fellow colleagues at BOREN.
Okay.
We are more than happy to assist with anyone who has any questions, anyone who has any concerns. We can't exactly read your essay for you to the same extent that someone on campus would. So we would definitely encourage you to find any willing professor or administrator from your university to do things like that. But as far as just asking about what kinds of programs might work, things like that, call us, email us. Our email, I should put this up somewhere, is boren@iie.org, BOREN at iie.org. Our phone number is 1-800. Oh goodness, I'm blanking on what my phone number is. 1-800-61. Give me just a second. Why am I?
That's
You,
fine.
you, you say something over and over and over
I
a
know.
thousand times, and then all of a sudden it just slips your mind. That's so crazy. Um, uh, 1-800-618-6737. That's 1-800-618-NSEP. And if you give us a call at 1-800-618-NSEP or send us an email at boren@iie.org, we're very quick to respond. We're very quick to reply. If you call us, that phone number goes to like 4 different phones, including this one, which is
Wow.
why it made no sense that I forgot. But yeah, we're ready to answer any questions. You can schedule if you want some time to meet with us, and we can chat with you for a few minutes and help you understand the program more in depth, or whatever your questions might be. We're quick to respond. We're happy to help.
Okay, that is nice. So now back to you, Benita, if you can hear me. So now we understand that you heard BOREN Awards from your school, and then you started. So can you give us a little bit of background? What was some of the process? What did you do differently to help you get ready to apply? And what do you think was some of the stuff that you did to help you win the award?
Okay, so specifically about what helped me win the award. Again, it's obviously a very holistic process, but from my experience, I think one of the biggest things is probably your 2 essays, personal statements. I'm not sure what they refer to them as. It was having like lots of people, not lots of people, but people that I trusted, people I knew who knew what they were talking about in this regard, look at it, review it for me. That was definitely like a huge part of it. I had somebody who was a mentor of mine. I had one of my professors take a look at it. And so that was definitely very helpful. I even had, so my campus did have a campus representative, so I did have her take a look at it. I would say that's one of the biggest things, but also just making sure overall that you have this narrative, right? The story that you're trying to tell about yourself, meaning, what brought you to this point? What made you interested in this language, in this country? How does your work or sort of future aspirations relate to national security? And you have to be able to tell that as a story and make sure it makes sense and it doesn't feel like it's something that's sort of stitched together last minute, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I think that's maybe like the one thing to concentrate on when sort of writing your personal statements or sort of talking about how you want to work in national security or why you're interested in this language. So I would say that's the biggest thing. And just one thing to maybe add to what Kyle said earlier, in regards to having people take a look at your stuff, even if you don't have a campus representative. I think a really big thing is to maybe utilize your alumni network. Even if you don't have a campus representative, I'm sure the study abroad office probably knows other students from your university who have gotten it. I was the first one from my university, but there have been others now who have gotten it since me, and they've like reached out to me, asked for my opinion, and most people are so happy to help. Like I've helped them and everything like that. So utilize that kind of stuff, whether it's through LinkedIn or just asking your study abroad office, and like, you know, talking to other people who've gotten it before, whether they actually look at your essay or really just are able to give you advice. That's definitely something to look into.
Okay, that is awesome. So, yeah,
I
continue.
just wanted to piggyback on something that Zantana brought up, and thank you so much for saying everything that you said. So the application basically consists of two essays, letters of recommendation. We must have your transcripts. They can be unofficial, but we definitely have to have transcripts from your entire collegiate experience. And then a study abroad description, a study abroad plan, where you're going to go, what program, things like that. The two essays. Essay number one is where you'll lay out the national security component, where you'll tell us what it is that you're passionate about, why this language, why this country, why this region are all relevant to this particular national security issue. And then essay two is more about you and your professional ambitions, including how you see yourself fulfilling the service requirement. And as she said, this is really important. The more you can make those two seem like one coherent story, it's all got to make sense. Like it's all got to be cohesive. And if you can do that, that definitely helps a lot. So that's really important. And then, I mean, we've both stressed it, and it really is key. Getting other people to jump in and read or advise, it can often make a difference. You don't need to or want to go this application alone.
Well, it's needed because when I look back at my old Gilman application, I'm like, wow. So you need to get people to review for you. You have to. And I would just interject this, I will insert this in EBI. We are here to help review and stuff. We have teams that have done study abroad and stuff before. So if you need anybody to help, I would say try and look for the alumni network to help you. But we are also here to assist in any of those processes. So nevertheless, now we are back to so how long, I would say, did it take to hear back when you applied to the program? And what are some of the stuff that you did, Zanita? As you were waiting, did you know you were gonna get a scholarship? What was your other alternative? Did you apply to, okay, so let's go back, let's cancel that question. Did you apply to other scholarships? And to you, Mr. Carl, we'll get to you. Can you get BOREN and other scholarship combined, or it has to be just BOREN? So, Zanita, what were some of the things, your other backup plan? Should you not win the BOREN Award?
Well, while she's waiting to come on, I can answer the question that you pointed to me about winning other awards. Yes, you can. So we recognize that, as I mentioned before, we're giving you a financial award. This is a financial scholarship or fellowship up to 25,000. But frankly, honestly speaking, that may not always cover all of your related study abroad expenses, right? Like it's a pretty hefty amount of money.
It
But
is.
there are some countries that are just super expensive. I mentioned Japan earlier in my talk. Japan tends to be one of our more expensive locations. I believe Brazil is also one of our more expensive locations. So if you're budgeting for this study abroad experience and you realize that the 25K you might maybe receive from BOREN isn't enough, feel free to apply for other awards and stack awards. We want you to be able to cover this experience overseas. Just make sure that there aren't like any requirements from that other award that might like
Interfere.
interfere with BOREN, like
Oh,
interfere with your ability to do the service requirement afterwards or anything like that. Just double check to make sure that it's actually a feasible thing. You know, we have a requirement that you must be a student while you're overseas. If they have a requirement that you must be graduated already, like these.
well,
So you
yeah,
got to make sure that the
yeah,
awards can coexist,
yes.
and then also that you can tell us who's paying for what. So say you're applying for Gilman as well. Great, you can definitely stack BOREN and Gilman, but if you're charging your flight to Gilman, you are not charging your flight to BOREN. Like you gotta make it very clear to us who's paying for what. But
Okay,
But you can definitely find additional services.
Okay. 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 So yeah, you can stack up. You can apply to multiple stuff. Danita, are you there? Can you hear us? We were
Yes,
asking
I can.
you. Yeah. Did you have
Yes, I
what
can.
was your backup plan? What were you doing? Did you only apply to BOREN or other scholarships?
I did apply to a few other things, both through my. When I first did it as a scholarship, I went through my university study abroad program. So I did apply to some through the university as well. This time, I'm not so much doing it through my university study abroad program, so I have like different options. So yeah, definitely apply, like Kyle said, to as many things as you can, because the worst thing that would happen is either somebody says no, or you have too many options and then you reject some of them, right? Like you can never be offered too much money. Maybe even another thing I would add, that I was considering and definitely considered this time around when I was applying for the fellowship is, like Kyle said, some places are a lot more expensive than others. And not so much that like money should be the reason you choose to go a certain place, but it's definitely a consideration.
Yes, it
Because
is. It
because
is.
yeah, and because you're not going to have, as fruitful of an experience if you're spending your entire year abroad stressing about money. So when I was deciding I wanted to go back to the Middle East and I wanted to study in an Arab country, I was interested in being in a Gulf country, so either Qatar or Oman or something like that. But those places, your money won't go as far. Right,
Mhm.
so 25, 30 grand goes a lot less further in Oman, which is very expensive. The value of their currency is even higher than ours. Whereas where I'm going to Jordan, that money will, allow you a bit more freedom where you can live, how many classes you can take, all those kinds of things. So definitely, if you're interested in a language or region where there's different country options, that's definitely something to weigh out.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That is awesome. So, again, you can apply to multiple scholarships. Don't just be fixated on one scholarship, and then if you don't get it, then you are stuck. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try and have different alternatives and apply to different stuff, and then if you get it, great. If you don't get it, try again. You can keep on applying each year, right? Until even if you don't
Yeah,
get it this year, you can apply again the following cycle.
absolutely. Yes. As long as you're still a student, as long as you're
As
still on the
long
book.
as you're still in school.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you can only receive the scholarship once, and you can
One.
only receive the fellowship once. But as we see with our distinguished guest here, Zantana has won both the scholarship and the fellowship. So it is possible uh, to
Okay.
to win them both. But individually, you can only win one scholarship, and then you're done for scholarships, and then one fellowship, you're done for fellowships.
Okay. So
Um, I,
sorry.
I wanted to ask Santana a question. I don't know if she had touched on this earlier, but what are you proposing to do? I'm not. I don't think I remember hearing you say on this call. What is your career plan?
We are thinking the same thing. I was about to ask you the same thing. Oh, good.
So yeah, specifically career wise, I'm definitely interested in sort of the foreign policy aspect. I'm thinking about going into the foreign service. After I do my BOREN, I think I'm going to apply to Wrangell and Pickering to do grad school and then enter the foreign service after that. That's a bit different than sort of what I had in mind when I applied to the scholarship the first time. To be honest, I didn't even really know too much about the foreign service at that point. But I think that's another sort of upside of BOREN. It's not just the money that they give you to go abroad, but like it kind of creates this whole network of people, both that you meet at the convocation, and then also we had another sort of employment seminar when we returned, and then even just the people you meet, the Facebook group, just the connections really sort of introduced me to this sort of this career opportunity. And the more I looked into it, the more sort of I got interested in the diplomacy aspect.
Thank you.
She actually touched on something. So thank you so much, Santana, for jogging my memory because you touched on something that I didn't mention before. We have networks to help with the service requirement. We want you to find ways to fulfill the service. We want you to find ways to get this foot in the door, so to speak, as far as government service is concerned. And so we do have some events to help prepare you both for your study abroad. That's our convocation. That's before you go overseas, just to prepare you for your time overseas. But then we also have things like the seminar when you've come back, which is an event that we host to help you meet with agencies to help you get a better understanding of things like security clearances, to get you really some boost as far as fulfilling the service requirement. NSEP, National Security Education Program, who sponsor BOREN, they also have a team, the NSEP team. They're all BORENs, and their job 9 to 5 is to help with the service process.
Wow. So
They're the ones who track whether you fulfilled your service or not, but they run their own job board, NSEPnet, that's only exclusive to BORENs.
Wow.
And they're really great at reaching out. So like you're not going to be left alone when it comes to the service requirement. We're going to
help you.
You're gonna get
What
some level of assistance.
Yeah, and it's so cool. You done with college and or whatever, and you have your clearance to even work for the Fed. That is awesome. It's like you did. To me, it's a no-brainer. You actually get to experience a different culture overseas, learn a new language. Then you get to have the opportunity to have an internship. That is, you're also getting paid somehow through the internship, and then you're getting also the opportunity to have security clearance also done for you. So I don't see why people don't want to apply for more, because it's like it's really gold. And I have used the word gold the whole weekend. My friends have been calling me gold, but it's gold mine that you got to go for it. So now we have 5 minutes or so, not a few minutes left, and I don't want to drag it, because sometimes even what is called Instagram, after 60 minutes, it's like you can't upload a video. So yeah. So now I just want Zanita to give us, why did she choose her first country? And I know that you explained to us the reason why you chose this country that you're going to be doing your fellowship at, but what was the reason for picking Israel?
So my reason for picking Israel is like multifold. Even Jordan now, like I said, the money thing was a consideration, but that wasn't really the only thing. And like I said, my interest is working in the foreign service and in diplomacy, and a lot of the United States' sort of interests in that region at this point is really heavily concentrated in the Levantine region, with Syria, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Jordan being such an ally of the U.S., like the entire region is like a huge amount of interest related to U.S. national security. So I definitely wanted to stay in that region. Israel, one of the reasons was because, like I said, I went through my university study abroad program, and so there was a limit to the places in the region that I could study through my university. And so that's definitely something that might be a consideration for people. For me, it was specifically because if I didn't do my study abroad when I was an undergrad through my university, I would not have been considered enrolled, and that would have caused issues. So I was like, let me go to Israel. But again, it was a fantastic opportunity, and I learned a lot there. But again, there's also downsides, because I was studying Arabic, and that wasn't the prominent language in the country, but it also taught me a lot about sort of the Israeli-Palestinian sort of issues based on the places that I volunteered at, the experiences that I had. And so, yeah, that was my reason for picking Israel.
That is awesome. So when you came back, what did you do your follow-up project, or is it requirements when you came back?
It's not like Gilman, where there's some sort of
sorry.
community requirement when you come back. Your only requirement when you come back is the service.
The service. So where did you work? How did you go about to fulfill the service requirement?
So I actually I haven't fulfilled it yet, because I just, like I said, I graduated in May.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and I believe for and I'm like continuing on with the fellowship, so it technically gets pushed for me for a while. I believe for people who get the scholarship, you have 3 years after you graduate to fulfill it, and for the fellowship, it's 2 years. But yeah, so I haven't fulfilled it yet. I think I probably could, based on where I'm working right now. But another thing you guys were discussing a little bit earlier, but having Schedule A hiring, which basically sort of kind of gives you priority consideration for certain jobs, is a huge advantage of it. So I'm sort of looking at the different options. But yeah, right now I'm working as a policy fellow at the U.S. Helsinki Commission. It's also known as the U.S. Commission on Security and Cooperation in Europe. They kind of shape U.S. foreign policy towards Europe. So I'm pretty sure I could fulfill it through that, but I haven't yet.
Well, you might want to, right?
I would definitely tell NSEP about that. They might be interested to know that you're doing that.
Yeah.
I just started, so
Oh,
I
never
will.
mind,
Yeah.
never mind, never mind. But no, she brought up a really great point, and something I didn't mention earlier. So after you come back from your study abroad and after you finish your academic studies, there is a bit of a time buffer.
Okay.
You don't have to immediately start working for the government as soon as you come back.
Cool.
You finish your degree. If you won the scholarship, you now have 3 years to get started on your service. If you won the fellowship, you have 2 years to get started on that service.
Okay.
And if during that time, like Zantana, you decide to go back to school, the clock will stop, allow you to finish your higher degree, and then resume after you've completed those additional studies. So it's not like you come back to the States and immediately you need to start working for the government. There's a
That
little
is
bit of time.
nice. That is nice for people to know. Because it's like you come back, you're already in culture shock. But you come back and you shock about the two life. So to really be required to just go back on the field and work and stuff, this is good to know that you don't have to you have 3 years to fulfill that requirement. That is great. So we have 3 minutes left. So I want to I'll give Mr. Kyle and then okay, well ladies first, right? So I'll give them Tanner. And hopefully I can get Zantana to come back again, or anybody that Mr. Kyle you want to bring on our team to
Sure.
come study experience. We want to put a face to study abroad. That if Santana can do it, then you can do it. If the teacher can do it, then you can do it. So the more students that you can bring on our team to give their story about how they went about the journey to study abroad or to intern or work abroad, that would be really cool. So I'll give it to Nate just to encourage somebody why you think this is a prestigious award that they should apply.
Okay, so I mean, I don't think I need to convince anybody that it is a prestigious award. It just kind of is, right? That's kind of the thing with prestige. You don't usually have to convince anybody of it. What I would say to people and why they should apply is would actually be surprising, and it's not because of the money. Obviously, the money is a huge help, and it allowed me to like study abroad and several other people. But I think I have gotten way more of a benefit out of the network that I've been able to have an access through to BOREN, the job opportunities I didn't even know about. And again, like when it comes to sort of these sort of nationally competitive scholarships, they're niche. You can kind of trade in one thing for another. The fact that I did a BOREN scholarship was impressive enough to get me the fellowship or to get me into Ringo. And so it's the way that it opens up a whole new door for you. And it's not just don't think about it just for the money. Because I remember when me and like other people got it, when you're signing this contract saying you'll work in you're committing to a year, it almost seems like stressful, but it's a much more of an opportunity than it is an obligation. And especially for people who know they're interested in working in government, I highly recommend it. And just one last thing based on what Kyle mentioned earlier, for people that are in STEM or whatever, there's this sort of idea that people have when you hear national security that you kind of have to be in international relations or political science, but BOREN is so much bigger than that. Like I know people who wrote their essays like who were in STEM in ecology or something and wrote how there's like soil erosion in this part of the thing and it's going to affect climate change in this way, and our environment is a huge part of our security.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Can you hear me any better?
Yeah, you're breaking up a lot. So I want to get from what I think I heard from you. Let me. Yeah, so she was saying that is something that is prestigious. You don't have to convince anybody to tap into it. So it's like if you know this is go for it. And then she said that don't allow your major to be the reason why you are not applying, because there is something in you for everybody. And she said that she have had friends that were in the STEM or doing ecology or something like that, and they still got BOREN Awards. So don't let it be the reason why you won't tap into this program. So now I will let Mr. Kyle to also brief it out and share anything that you want to add to it.
She basically did my job for me. I want to get her back on, so maybe we can hire her to do more stuff in the future. But we basically everything she just said, it's a tremendous opportunity. That's the word that she used that I think is most important, that people look at BOREN and think of our service requirement as a restriction or as a requirement, but as she was trying to say, it's a really an opportunity. Like you're given a really great chance to go overseas. It's paid for, and you get language and cultural experience, just seeing the rest of the world through different eyes, and then you come back and we're going to help you get your foot in the door in a significant way within government service. So it's a phenomenal opportunity, as she was saying, and it should be thought of as such. And as such, you it's not an opportunity you want to let go by. If you can apply, definitely try to avail yourself of this great opportunity.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. We're going to end here, but don't leave me. I'm going to just end the broadcast. Thank you guys so much for coming in. If you didn't get anything out of this, what I got is that don't limit. Um,
Oh, sorry.
no, it's fine. If you didn't get anything out of this, what I got is that don't limit yourself. There is great resources out there, and if you are thinking about applying, your first place is that go to the BOREN Awards website and then find out if your school, there is somebody in your school that is an advisor or a rep in your school. Start from there, and even if you don't have anybody in your school to start, talk to BOREN. There will be somebody out there to assist you on that. And on top of it too, have somebody to review your application. EBI, we are here to help, but even if that, like, there's a lot of history professors and English professors that would love to review this stuff for you. So don't limit yourself and don't sit there in the dark. And above all, give yourself some time to write a right essay. Sanata said it has to connect, unique, but also everything has to connect. Why do you think that you qualify for this prestigious award? And thank you guys for tuning in, and just stay tuned with EBI. We'll be bringing you more stories about international education. Thank you.